The Hacks and Hijinx event is in its last days, but what are their plans with the event and the modifiers? Is Blizzard about to shake up Overwatch again? Let's have a look. The Hacks and Hijinx event is ending next Tuesday, and while we don't have any data to base this on, in general I get the sense that people liked it, but it was not nearly as popular as, let's say, the April Fool's or the Halloween event. Hopefully we'll get some insights on all of that soon. I do think, however, that, much like with all of the previous events, this wasn't meant as just a random one-off. I can't shake the feeling that they were actually trying something, that they were doing a test. I've said this many times before, but perks and stadium are just the tip of the iceberg. They have way bigger plans. Aaron Keller, the game director for Overwatch, hinted at big things to come in the next season, season 18. And during an interview, that stadium game that he played with J3, he said that the rest of the year was going to be pretty big. And he wasn't just referring to cool heroes or nice locations, pretty cosmetics. Bigger things are going on. So anything they do with these limited time events could turn out that those tests become full-fledged features, game modes, or at least parts of it. And same goes for Hacks and Hijinx. It has the potential to evolve into something permanent. However, where would it actually fit in Overwatch? Could it be a completely new game mode like they did with Stadium? Or are they thinking about squeezing it into the core game mode like they did with perks? Maybe they're even going to squeeze it into Stadium, where it actually would make a lot more sense. Now, for me personally, the thing that I'm pretty sure about is that it's not going to be just kind of squeezed in the core game modes like they did with perks, where it becomes a new feature for the core game mode. At least not in the way that it did for this limited time game mode. And that is because the whole concept of these modifiers is actually not in line with one of their new important design strategies, which is choice. Perks and Stadium empowers players by giving them a choice. A personal, a strategic, whatever. And sure, there's no way around that system of perks, but you can choose which perk you actually use. And it seems that we like that. We like choice. Modifiers, on the other hand, are enforced upon us by the system. The system rolls the die and there you go. These are the two modifiers you're going to be playing with. So it doesn't follow that same direction where they give us choice. However, they did put quite an amount of effort in these modifiers. They had a user interface which wasn't as advanced as the standard user interface, but definitely more than some of the stuff we have seen in the past. The Halloween event, for instance, also had a more advanced UI, and that turned out to be a bit of a hint or a test for perks. On top of that, some of these modifiers had visual effects that we haven't seen in game yet. Some of them look pretty nice. Now, they might have used stuff that was in game and kind of amplified it, changed some parameters, some properties, and there you go. But I feel like more was going on here. For instance, the difference between the effects we saw in this mode and the one that we get for the bounty hunter that pops up around Lunar New Year, yeah, it definitely was a huge step up in quality. So what could they actually be doing here? Well, I think the most simple option is that they're thinking of a new game mode where modifiers are the thing. But I don't think that is likely. They're smarter than that. What I think is more likely, but not the most likely scenario, is that they'll give us a choice of modifiers in the core game modes. So we get to vote about it. You vote for a map, you vote for the modifiers, and you vote for the hero bands. Which is definitely not my preferred choice. The whole setup time for a core game match is already lengthy. It's getting a little ridiculous. And I know that they're working on kind of optimizing that flow, making it shorter, but adding a whole new choice would definitely not help out with that. What I think is a more likely option is that it is going to become a thing in Stadium. Could be that we get a choice of a modifier somewhere in the later rounds, just to spice things up even more, as if that would be necessary, but could be. Or maybe it's some type of consumable that we're going to get that we can all kind of, crowdfund as a team and unleash it upon the game. At which point it would kind of become a strategic choice. Because some of these modifiers can have a tactical advantage, while others were just kind of goofy. And then there was the one that nobody ever got to see. Mini-maxing. I don't know what happened. Just wasn't there. Another possible scenario, and I think the most likely one, is that they're actually testing some permanent core game changes. And that they're using this game mode to figure out some of the stuff they want to do. Because, look, let's say that you want to try something. You want to make the health packs also give all charge. You want to try that, you want to test that. Which I think would be a great idea. I mean, health packs have lost some of their use since the current state of support, but also because of the self-healing passive that everybody has. And that could make it more relevant again, while also speeding up the game with everybody having the same kind of tools available. Well, if they wanted to test that, they could have made a mode where they just added these health packs that give you healing, but also a bit of ult charge. And nobody would have played it because it was not different enough from the other game modes. You would just have a look and then bounce out. The retention on the game mode would be very, very low. But by wrapping it up in a whole limited time game mode that fits the season, that also is kind of tied into some of the cosmetics, and by adding a lot of silly stuff to make it more fun, less serious, some of the more wacky ideas, you basically get a game mode that people are going to play a little more while you can test and look at the data. That way everybody wins. And I definitely see him adopt some of these modifiers. For instance, like I said, the health packs that give you a little extra ult charge, but also the extra attack power. It could even give him different colors. Fired Up, that is the one where if you're on fire, you're going to be extra strong, but you're also going to be extra visible. That way they would give the on fire status, something that they brought back, more meaning. It would actually be something practical, not just something to show off with. But it would also help players to know who to focus down on the enemy team, who is performing best in that team and needs to be taken out now. So that would be useful on many levels. Maybe they want to do something with shorter spawn times. They did so in the past. Or there's a fallen comrade where one of your teammates will leave a little present when he dies that will make you stronger, which will allow you to kind of compensate for the fact that they died and stand your ground a little longer. And you know what? Even the buff hunt idea in some form of fashion could be interesting. On the other hand, what if they're trying to replace the self-heal? It has been a blessing ever since it was added, much to the surprise of a lot of people. But on the other hand, it also kind of contributed to the state of supports where they are quite strong now. They could replace that self-heal with a more of a lifesteal thing, like what they did with the vampiric healing in this game mode. Or they could even go for berserkers, where you become stronger the lower you dip in health. However, I think those last two, they're quite risky. I think there's too many edge cases, too many scenarios where, I don't know, I see issues. It might become a negative experience. But yeah, that's exactly why they would be doing tests like this, to figure that out, to see those scenarios, to see if it plays out as I'm imagining right now. And like I said, I think these kinds of tests are actually the most likely scenario. That is most likely what they're doing. And to be fair, the ones that I just listed are also the ones that actually had a visual effect tied into them. So, I don't know, guys. We'll see. We'll find out soon enough. But what do you think? Do you think modifiers is something that they can keep around? And in what way? Let me know in the comments, or come tell me during my streams. I stream every weekday on twitch.tv/Deemzies. Come say hi. For now, however, that was it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It always helps me out. I also want to thank my patrons and YouTube members. You too can become a member over on patreon.com/theomnicpost and right here on YouTube to unlock exclusive rewards. If you have a few minutes left, maybe check out one of my other videos. But above all, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye bye.